Hello everyone. Okay, I hope we're all having a wonderful day. Okay, this video is going to be looking at civil rights and liberties in the UK. Now, just to see where we are in terms of the course, we've very nearly finished this first topic on democracy and participation. So if you have a look in your work booklet, you can see on the exam specification for this topic area, you should know and be an expert on 1.1 about representative and direct democracy, the features, the similarities, the differences between them, the advantages and the disadvantages. You should be an expert on suffrage in the UK and the debates around suffrage regarding 18-year-olds and compulsory voting, the work of suffragettes, etc., etc. The work of a current movement to extend the franchise, that's that Votes for 16 we looked at when we looked at that particular thing. You should be an expert on pressure groups, okay, the methods they use, the influence they have or don't have, case studies of two different pressure groups, highlighted examples of their methods. Again, that's what we discussed and I sent out last weekend. Other collective organisations like think tanks, lobbyists and corporations. Again, that's what we've been looking at this week, isn't it? The only bit we haven't done yet is this area here about rights in context. And you need to know about major developments of our rights. You need to know about the Human Rights Act, the Equalities Act, and the debates about our rights and how it's caused tensions within the UK political system and our rights-based culture. Some of this we will actually come back to at the very end of the first year of politics when we look at the Supreme Court, because again, civil rights and civil liberties tend to pop up there again. So this video today basically is going to be looking at this first dot and a little bit of this second dot as well. So if you look in your booklet on the right section, I'll just scroll down, so I apologise if it's making your eyes go a bit funny. Let's find it, there, pressure groups, a bit further down. Here we are. Okay, so you can see here, oops, the next page, sorry, here we go. You can see here on this right bit, there's this little differentiation, if you like, this little difference between what are meant by our rights and what are meant by our obligations. And there's like a subtle difference between the two. Now, what you need to do, rights are basically those things protected by the state. Okay, so what things does the state protect? Now, traditionally in Britain, we've had what's called negative rights. And what that means is we've had the right to do as we please apart from things outlined in law. So you have the right to, say what you like apart from perhaps hate speech, which might be put down in law. So they're kind of quite negative rights. This is changed with the Human Rights Act, which introduced more positive rights. It says you have the right to freedom of religion or whatever. So for this, if you look in the edXL textbook, which is on Teams, under the heading, I think it's called Rights in Context or something very similar to that, the first paragraph or two, it has some bullet points in there as well. It explains about these rights and liberties and it has a few examples on. So that information is going on the left-hand side of this table. On the right-hand side, you need to discuss the obligations which citizens are expected to have. So for this, if you look in the Lynch textbook on page 240, it's got the heading Civic Responsibilities, and then it kind of explains what this means, and it's got a number of bullet points of some examples. So these are basically things which citizens are expected to do in exchange for, if you like, the state providing those certain rights. So you need to complete that side using that information. So hopefully that should be fairly straightforward. You just need to make sure you're aware that you know what the differences are between rights and obligations. Once you've done that, there's these two bottom questions here. Just have a think about to yourself, which rights and which responsibilities you think are most important. There's then this part here, which is something which the government are very keen for you to know about, which was the progress of our rights. You got Magna Carta, which personally I'm a bit dubious about it's important giving us our rights, but anyway, we've got to do it. So using a combination of the Lynch book, the edXL book and the Jenkins book, they all cover these things. Just explain how each of these various things, Magna Carta, Convention of Human Rights, Human Rights Act and the Equalities Act, extended and expanded our rights. So hopefully that should be reasonably straightforward. And then finally, Using a combination of those textbooks and perhaps having a quick look on the internet, you just need to always find out a little bit more about the Human Rights Act. So, in the top left box, how are our rights traditionally protected in the UK? Underneath that, why did the Labour government introduce the Human Rights Act? What were some of their motives? The right-hand side, what are the key provisions of the Human Rights Act? So what does it cover? Don't list all of them, there's quite a lot of them. Just list, I don't know, 9 or 10 of what you think are the most important ones. And then there's a little sneaky box here about which body is exempt from the ECHR. You may or may not find this out, so don't worry too much if you don't get that box done. We'll have a little chat about that with our Teams meeting. So if you can get all that done for early next week before we have our Teams meeting or online meeting, depending on which bubble or half of you have early next week, that would be great, because when we actually have our next lesson, we actually got a little bit of a video to watch on the Supreme Court and protection of rights, and we need to know what these things are before we do that. So if you get these done over the weekend, and then early next week I will see you, and we'll, as I said, watch this video and have a discussion about these rights. Any problems or issues, then obviously send me an email or something and I will do my best to help you.